Usually when we
Red
crack open one of
eyes,
these deep dives
sharp
into
teeth, and an
monsters
attack
or
that science
cryptids,
has
we're
yet to
dusting off these
explain.
old manuscripts from like the
One night,
1800s.
Right, things that have been around forever.
animals in the
Yeah, we're talking
field
about
were
things that
alive.
hide in the fog of history.
When morning
Bigfoot, the
came.
Loch Ness Monster, legends that feel like they've always been there.
They're the classics. They have a certain timeless quality to them, for sure.
But today is different. We are looking at a monster that has a birth date. A specific hometown. It was born effectively on live television and fueled by the very early days of the internet.
And the name itself is pretty memorable.
Oh, it is. The name alone is enough to send a shiver down your spine, even if the literal translation is, well, it's a little less dignified than the abominable snowman.
It really does lose some of its mystique when you break out the Spanish dictionary. Chupacabras.
Let's just rip that Band-Aid off right now. Chupar means to suck, and cabras means goats.
Fucker.
Exactly. It sounds like a playground insult.
Right.
It sounds like something a middle schooler came up with. But if you were living in Puerto Rico in the mid-90s, I promise you, nobody was laughing.
No, it was a full-blown societal panic. It was a crisis.
And that's what we're unpacking today. We aren't just swapping spooky campfire stories.
Not at all. We're looking at the machinery behind the monster. I mean, we have a stack of sources here. Biological studies, forensic investigations by Benjamin Radford, reports from the Puerto Rican Department of Agriculture.
We want to figure out how we got from zero to global monster phenomenon in, the span of about 6 months?
Because when you strip away the hype, it's a perfect storm. It's this collision of biology, folklore, mass hysteria.
And pop culture, you can't forget that.
Oh, absolutely. The chupacabra isn't just a creature. It's a case study in how the modern world creates its own myths.
So let's start the clock. Let's go back to the birth of the beast. Because for most people listening, if I say chupacabra, they have a pretty specific image in their head.
And that image is probably wrong.
That's what I was going to say. It's almost certainly wrong, isn't it?
It is. And that's the first big twist in this deep dive. If you asked someone today to draw a chupacabra, they'll sketch a dog. A weird, hairless, ugly dog.
Yeah.
But if you were on the ground in Puerto Rico in March 1995, that is not what people were terrified of.
Okay, so set the scene for us. Puerto Rico, spring of 95. What's the vibe?
It starts in these towns, Orocovis and Morovas. It's rural, it's agricultural, and farmers start waking up to a complete nightmare. They are finding their livestock dead.
And we're not talking about like one or two that wandered off?
No, we're talking about 8 sheep in the very first reported incident, all found dead in their pens.
And it wasn't just that they were dead, right? It was the how, the way they were killed. That's what grabbed the headlines.
Exactly. If a pack of stray dogs gets into a sheep pen, it's a mess.
Total chaos.
It's bloody, it's torn up. But these reports were describing something almost surgical. The animals allegedly had 3 puncture wounds in the chest area, a very distinct triangular pattern.
The famous triangle.
Right. And the claim, the one that really poured gasoline on the fire, was that these animals had been completely drained of blood, not a drop left.
Which is, that's an incredibly specific and gruesome detail. It just screams vampire.
It does. And things just escalated so fast. By August of 95, the panic moves to a town called Canovanas, and now the body count is. It's just skyrocketing. We're hearing reports of up to 150 farm animals, goats, chickens, rabbits.
Even pets.
Even household pets, all killed, all supposedly drained.
That's a massacre. At that scale, you can see why people weren't thinking wild dog. They were thinking plague or monster or...
Experiment gone wrong. It was treated as a legitimate civil defense emergency. I mean, they had crews out hunting for this thing.
Wow.
And that's actually where the name comes from. It wasn't a scientist who named it. It wasn't some government official.
He was a comedian. I love this part of the story.
It's great, isn't it? Silverio Perez. He's a well-known comedian and radio DJ over there. He was commenting on the attacks on his show, just trying to find some levity in it, and he jokingly called the creature a chupacabras.
The goat sucker?
And it just stuck instantly. It was catchy, it was descriptive, and the media ran with it.
Okay, but this is where we have to get into the original monster. Because the eyewitness account that started it all, it came from a woman named Madeline Tolentino.
Right, in Canovanas.
And her description, well, it sounds absolutely nothing like a coyote.
Not even close.
I've seen the sketches. It looks like an alien invader.
It really does. She described a creature that was roughly the size of a small bear, maybe 3 to 4 feet tall. But she said it wasn't a mammal. It was reptilian,
Reptilian.
with these large black wraparound eyes, no ears, and tiny little arms with claws.
And the movement was bizarre too, right? Not like a dog at all.
No, she said it stood on two legs and it hopped, like a kangaroo.
Hop.
But the most distinctive feature, the one that ended up on all the T-shirts, was this row of sharp spines or quills running from the top of its head, down the neck, all the way to the base of its tail.
So we have a spiky, hopping alien kangaroo vampire with big black eyes.
And greenish-gray, leathery skin.
Yeah.
It is a terrifying image.
Yeah.
And because Madeline Tolentino was the first credible witness to go on record with this, and she told her story with such conviction, her description became the template for the rest of 1995 in Puerto Rico. That's what you were looking for. The spiky kangaroo.
Okay, so that's the Puerto Rican Chupacabra. That's original recipe. But the legend didn't stay on the island. It migrated. And this is where the story gets really, really strange. Because as the monster crossed borders, it kind of changed its clothes.
It's basically a game of telephone played across continents.
Yeah.
From Puerto Rico, the story goes to Mexico, then down to Brazil, Chile, and eventually up into the United States, specifically the Southwest. But as it moved north, the physical description it mutated.
Mutated how?
The alien features, they just vanished.
Yeah.
The spines, gone. The bipedal hopping, gone.
The big black alien eyes?
Gone.
So what were people in Texas and Arizona seeing? Because they were definitely seeing something.
Oh, yeah. They were seeing quadrupeds, four-legged animals, basically. Strange, ugly dogs.
Just dogs.
Hairless, with a pronounced spinal ridge, deep eye sockets, fangs, the whole monster dog look.
Okay, that is a huge red flag for me. Biologically speaking, a species doesn't just completely swap its body plan because it crossed the Rio Grande. We don't go from reptile kangaroo to hairless dog just because you entered Texas.
Precisely. That inconsistency is the first real crack in the myth. It suggests we are looking at two completely different phenomena being shoved under the same brand name.
Right. Chupacabra just became a catch-all term for weird thing killing my livestock.
You got it.
So let's tackle the U.S. version first. That one seems to be where we have the most, hard evidence. In the U.S., people weren't just running from these things, they were shooting them.
They were trapping them. We have bodies. We have DNA.
We do. And this is where the biology comes in and really clears the fog. When scientists like biologist Barry O'Connor from the University of Michigan, when they actually got their hands on these carcasses...
The mystery just sort of evaporated.
Spoiler alert, it was not an alien.
It was not an alien, and it wasn't a new species. The consensus is that these monsters were actually coyotes. Or sometimes dogs, maybe a raccoon, suffering from severe cases of sarcoptic mange.
Okay, let's unpack sarcoptic mange, because I think most people hear mange and they think of a dog scratching a little bit behind the ears.
Right, a minor skin problem.
But we are talking about something that literally turns an animal into a monster.
We are. This is a severe infestation. It's caused by a microscopic mite, Sarcoptes gabii. These things burrow into the skin to lay their eggs. In a healthy domestic dog, you catch it, you treat it, it's fine. But in a wild coyote, especially one that might already be stressed, the reaction is horrific.
So break down the transformation. How do you get from a fluffy coyote to a chupacabra?
Okay, so first, the allergic reaction to the mites causes extreme inflammation. The hair follicles die. The animal goes almost completely bald.
So that explains the hairlessness. Check.
Right. But then the skin reacts to all that trauma by thickening. It gets wrinkled, crusty, leathery. It can even take on this weird bluish or grayish tint.
Which matches the reptile skin or elephant skin descriptions that people gave.
Exactly. And then there's the smell. These animals are scratching themselves raw, so the open sores get infected. Witnesses often reported a rank, foul, rotting odor.
And that's the infection.
That's the smell of the infection.
Honestly, that's just tragic. We're talking about a dying animal.
We are. It's a miserable way to go. And this condition also explains the behavior, which is the part that usually scares people the most. Why were these monsters attacking goats? Why were they coming right up to people's houses?
Because normally a coyote is a ghost. It sees a human. It's gone.
Right. A healthy coyote hunts wild prey rabbits, deer. That takes speed. That takes stamina.
Things this animal doesn't have.
Not at all. An animal with severe mange is weak, it's debilitated, it's freezing because it has no fur. It simply cannot chase down a jackrabbit.
So it has to find the drive-through option.
Exactly. Livestock in a pen, they're trapped, they're slow. It's an easy meal.
Yeah.
So these sick predators are forced close to us, forced to attack animals they usually wouldn't, just to survive another day.
So the monster isn't a super predator, it's an invalid. It's just desperate.
Precisely.
That makes perfect sense for the appearance and the behavior. But we have to address the vampire part, the goat sucker. If it's just a sick coyote, why are farmers finding bloodless bodies?
This is one of those zombie myths that is so hard to kill. The short answer is they weren't drained of blood.
But the farmers swore they were. They said there was no blood on the ground.
And they believed what they were saying, but they were misinterpreting the biology. There was a veterinarian, Dr. David Morales, with the Puerto Rican Department of Agriculture, and he analyzed about 300 of these victims.
300? That's a huge sample size.
It is. And he found they were not bled dry. When they did the necropsies, when they cut the animals open, the blood was still there. It was just inside the body.
So why did it look empty to the farmers?
Two main reasons. First is gravity. It's a process called livor mortis. When an animal dies, the heart stops pumping, so the blood settles to the lowest point in the body.
Okay.
If you find it hours later and cut it, the blood doesn't spurt out like in a movie. It's congealed deep in the tissue.
And the second reason?
How a canine kills. It doesn't slash. It bites the neck and crushes the trachea to suffocate the prey. That causes massive internal bleeding, but it leaves very little blood on the ground.
So the farmer walks up, sees a dead goat, sees 2 holes in the neck, sees no blood on the grass.
And thinks something sucked it dry.
And the famous 3 holes.
That's just bite mechanics. A dog has 2 canine teeth. But if the prey struggles, or the predator readjusts its grip, you get a drag mark that looks like a 3rd hole. It's just messy biology, not alien surgery.
Okay, so the U.S. Chupacabra is solved. It's a mangy coyote seen through the lens of fear. But that brings us right back to the Puerto Rico problem. The Madeleine Tolentino problem. She did not see a coyote. She saw a spiky kangaroo alien. Mange doesn't make a dog grow spines. So was she lying?
I don't think she was lying. I think she had a very human experience.
Okay.
And this is where we have to pivot from biology to psychology. The investigator Benjamin Radford, he spent 5 years tracking this down, and he found a fascinating correlation.
He looked at pop culture, right?
He did. He looked at the timeline. And it turns out there was a major sci-fi horror movie that was released in Puerto Rico in the summer of 1995. Species. The film features an alien creature named Syl. Now, if you picture the creature designed for Syl in the final act of that movie, she's an alien-human hybrid. She has a reptilian look.
Yeah.
She has spines on her back.
Oh, wow.
And she's bipedal. The physical resemblance between the H.R. Geiger design in Species and Madeleine Tolentino's eyewitness sketch is, well, it's almost a perfect match.
But the timing has to be right.
Madeleine Tolentino reported her sighting in August 1995. She had seen the movie Species shortly before her sighting.
No way.
In fact, Radford interviewed her, and Tolentino herself said that the resemblance was impressive. And she actually believed the events of the movie were happening in reality.
So she wasn't lying, she was projecting.
It's likely a case of confabulation. She sees something strange in the dark, maybe a stray dog, maybe a rhesus monkey, they have them on the island. But her brain needs to make sense of the silhouette,
Right.
so it reaches into her recent memory bank to fill in the gaps. And the scariest, most vivid image in her memory bank was Syl from Species.
And because she was the first eyewitness, her description became the virus that infected everyone else's stories.
Exactly. It became the original folklore. Everyone who saw something weird after that was unconsciously trying to match her story.
That's incredible. So you have a movie character becoming a real-life monster. But I want to zoom out a bit. Why did this catch on so hard?
Right. What was the tinder for this fire?
Yeah, why did 1995 become the year of the Chupacabra?
Context is everything. You have to look at the environment. In 1995 in Puerto Rico and later in 96 in northern Mexico, there was a severe drought.
So the whole environment was stressed.
Extremely. El Niño patterns were in full effect. And drought reduces the population of wild prey. So predators were already desperate. They were being squeezed out of their natural hunting grounds.
So they were forced to hunt livestock just to eat.
Right. So you already have a genuine, measurable spike in predator attacks on farms. Farmers are seeing more dead goats than usual. The kills look more vicious because the predators are starving. And they don't have an explanation.
And into that vacuum of explanation steps the Chupacabra legend.
It fits perfectly. And it's worth noting, this wasn't the first time this happened.
Right. I was reading about the vampire of Mucca.
Yes, back in 1975, also in Puerto Rico. A similar wave of livestock killings. But back then, nobody had seen the movie Species, so they blamed it on El Vampiro de Mocha, a vampire.
Or satanic cult.
Or a satanic cult, same script, different costume. Every culture has a template for the thing in the night that kills our animals. The Chupacabra is just the 1990s version of that ancient fear.
But unlike those other local legends, the Chupacabra went global. It became a superstar. I mean, I grew up watching it on the X-Files.
That X-Files episode, El Mundo Gira, was huge. But I think the real secret to its success was the technology.
What do you mean?
Think about the mid-90s. What else was just being born then?
The commercial internet. The World Wide Web.
You're saying the Chupacabra was the first viral meme.
It was the first internet monster. Before this, cryptid legends spread by newspaper or word of mouth. It's slow, it's local. But the Chupacabra legend hit right as people were getting online.
So reports could fly from Puerto Rico to a message board in Russia instantly.
It bypassed all the gatekeepers. You didn't need a skeptical newspaper editor to approve the story. You just needed an email chain. So, let's try to put this whole puzzle together. We start with a severe drought that makes predators desperate.
Check.
We have a woman who just watched a sci-fi horror movie and sees something in the dark, and she projects that movie monster onto reality.
Okay.
That story goes viral on the early internet. Then, in the U.S., people start seeing coyotes with mange, hairless, and weird, and the label Chupacabra is waiting there, ready to be slapped right onto them.
That is the anatomy of the legend. It's a mix of biology, meteorology, and mass media.
It's almost disappointing that it's not an alien, but the reality is honestly more fascinating.
It is. It explains why the descriptions don't match. It explains the blood draining. It explains everything without needing a spaceship. And it reminds us that monsters are often just nature doing something we don't immediately understand.
Yeah, a coyote with mange is just a sad, sick animal, but through the lens of fear and folklore, it becomes a demon. And it has had quite the legacy. Here we are, 30 years later, still talking about it.
It's everywhere. It's in South Park, the Chupacabra episode.
Grim workaholics.
Jackie Chan adventures. There was a Netflix movie just recently, Chupa, in 2023. Super furry animals have a song about it.
I've seen the toys. The cryptozoic entertainment figurines.
It has cemented itself as a classic monster right up there with the Wolfman.
So what does this all mean for us? Why does this story still matter?
Well, I think it raises a really provocative thought about how we interact with the unknown. We like to think we're so rational, so modern. But the Chupacabra proves that we are just as prone to myth-making as our ancestors were.
We just swapped out demons for...
For aliens and genetic experiments, we still need the monster.
We do!
The Chupacabra serves as this perfect mirror for our psychology. When we see something tragic and confusing like a pile of dead sheep, we don't want the answer to be microscopic bugs and a lack of rain.
That's boring. That's random.
Exactly. We want a villain. We want the answer to be monster. We fill the gaps of the unknown with our current cultural fears, and in the 90s, our fears were genetic mutation and government cover-ups. So we created a monster that fit that bill.
That is a wild thought. We literally created the monster we were afraid of.
We did.
Well, next time you hear a twig snap in the woods, or see a weird dog with no hair crossing the road, maybe spare a thought for the poor mite-infested coyote before you call the tabloids.
Or at least check if you've watched any horror movies lately.
That is a wrap on our deep dive into the Chupacabra. Thank you for listening, and we encourage you to look a little closer at the monsters in your own backyard. You might be surprised at what you really find.